TSP withdrawal options update for 2019. I get a ton of info, questions, and just actually people enlightening me, so to speak, on various TSP withdrawal options under the new TSP Modernization Act of 2017. I've done videos on this before, but I tell you, I still get tons of emails about this, inquiring, like a lady here shared this article with me, which I've actually talked about before, but I'm going to go over it again because it's incredibly, incredibly important. And obviously, with the amount of traffic I get on this, it's very informative as well. People just need to be in the know because there's a lot of money in the TSP. And the last thing we want you to do is make a crappy decision that could cost you big time. So we're going to read an article that talks about the TSP withdrawal options, and then we're going to do a second part of this about the TSP taxes that you got to be aware of as well. So don't forget to subscribe down below at the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. If you like what you see, that little red rectangle down there, subscribe, thumbs up, comments, and share this video with you with folks who are in the TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan. So let's minimize me here. And this is one of my friends sent this to me. This is from the NARFE, which I presume is a National Association of Retired Federal Employees. And I'm not sure the date on this. Let's see if we go down the bottom here if it says the date on this guy. Yeah, I don't see a date. All right. Anyway, it's good. It's a good piece of reading. I've read this before, actually, to you guys. But we're going to do it again because it's incredibly important. All right. So TSP withdrawal, retiring employees seek the strategy that fits their needs. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump right down to here. A variety of choices. There are several primary choices for using TSP funds in retirement, though there are many variations on them. They are leaving the money in the TSP until ages 70 and a half when RMDs are required minimum distributions, taking a partial one-time withdrawal, taking a full withdrawal as a single lump sum payment, often transferred into an IRA, taking a full withdrawal with a series of monthly payments, either in an amount the participant chooses or as annuity calculated by the TSP using life, or I'm not an annuity, but as a monthly payment as calculated by the TSP using life expectancy tables, taking a full withdrawal as an annuity or taking a full withdrawal as a combination of those options. Determine which is best for you. Consider your goals. This is a guy from First Command. Based on TSP payment statistics, a single payment, which would be probably rolled to an IRA, and monthly payments are the two leading withdrawal choices and are virtually tied for the top spot. The monthly payment participants are likely interested in replicating a stream of income while retaining the bulk of their accounts in the TSP. So that's actually a nice option. The TSP calculates your monthly payment based on your life expectancy, and then they give it to you on a monthly basis, while retaining the bulk of your accounts in the TSP. So in theory, it can still grow. I could also go down, but that's a pretty good option. I'm a fan of that. While the single payment participants are satisfying a different set of needs, says this guy or lady, Kim Weaver, from the FRTIB, the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board, which manages the TSP. Partial withdrawals are the third most popular option, followed well behind by annuities. Everyone hates annuities, and that's unfortunate. Annuities do play a role. Ultimately, only you are going to know what your decisions should be, says Weaver. And Kim Weaver is a woman. She knows that TSP does not provide retirement planning advice, but does try to educate their participants. All right. Many federal employees and retirees turn over their TSP money to outside financial advisors without realizing they may be getting better advice that is not substantially better than information offered by the TSP, without realizing that. And in most cases, the TSP charges much less to manage the investments than private retirement planners. Yep, 100%. I'm going to share with some right here. This guy says, financial planners point out that for retirees, transferring a TSP to an IRA has advantages in terms of asset allocation and diversification. Says this financial planner, the TSP is limited to large stocks, which are C fund, small stocks, which are S fund, large international stocks from developed countries, which is I fund, bonds and bond equivalents, which are the F and G funds. There are many more asset classes to invest in, says this guy. Value stocks, mid-size, real estate, emerging markets, blah, blah, blah. In addition, he notes that with the exception to the G fund, the TSP can be replicated within an IRA. The G fund cannot. That's I just chuck. Look, man, if you have the I fund, you have the C fund, you have the S fund, you have everything covered in the stock market except for emerging markets. That's all there is to it. The stock market as a whole, the domestic and international, will have real estate. They'll have gold and precious metals. They're going to have everything under the sun because if it's listed on a stock exchange, it doesn't say, oh, you're a real estate investment trust, we can't list you on the stock exchange. No. If it's a fund that invests in REITs, REITs, it will be in part of your total stock market index fund, which is the C and S fund combined. Now, can you have private limited partnerships? No. Do you want private limited partnerships or master limited partnerships? No, you don't. It's a pain in the butt. It's just don't do that. So you can have everything you need under the TSP, with including the G fund, which is guaranteed, minus emerging market stocks. And that's not the worst thing that ever happened. One of the quirks when making certain withdrawals from the TSP, such as through a one-time payment or monthly checks calculated by the TSP, is that the money comes proportionally from each fund in which the retiree has invested money. That can even lead to penalties, including, for example, when the retiree has paid part of his or her money to a Roth TSP account for less than 5 years. So that's a pain in the butt. No other way around that. Weaver, this is the lady who's a part of the investment board of the TSP, notes, reasons of simplicity and minimizing cost are behind the structure of the TSP withdrawals. I frankly don't believe that, but whatever. However, monthly payments have strong defenders of retirees. Among the payments can be adjusted, even though the payments can be adjusted only once a year in January. Leaving one's money in the TSP after retirement also has its proponents. The biggest red flag comes from the account holder reaches the age of 75 and a half, and you got to take RMDs. Now here's a big one. The decision whether or not to place TSP funds in an annuity is one of the most difficult. There are advantages and disadvantages, as with all the options. An annuity takes many forms, so we're not going to get into that too much. But I do want to point out there's a guy here. Let's see, right here, Bruce Julian, a retiree who lives in Northern Neck of Virginia, believed that he could do better outside the TSP than by staying in it. He withdrew all his money from the account and rolled it to an IRA. In addition to estimating the value of keeping his money in the TSP and the value of an IRA rollover, I did my comparative analysis with 2 or 3 private annuities, he says. But he wasn't as satisfied with the expected returns and with the potential downside of annuities. There are no downside other than you're not going to get the upside if the market goes up. But there are no downsides to annuities. I mean, you could look at that as a downside, but there's no losses there whatsoever. He has no problem with the administrative fee he pays on his investments in his IRA, which typically are higher than those on his TSP accounts. I'm interested in performance, says this guy. Yeah, well, I can rest assured if you're hiring somebody at 1% and I've got just straight TSP, which essentially is cost-free, you're going to have a tough road to hoe to beat my performance on the TSP. No getting around that. Edward Vela, retiree from Granbury, Texas, has different advice for federal employees. Leave the money in the TSP account. The fund managers will do a better job of managing your money than you ever could. And I wouldn't go as far to say that, but I agree that I think there should be a bias in favor of leaving the money in the TSP. Vela, who is in his 70s, takes out the minimum distribution required to avoid penalties. I'm doing this I'm going to keep doing this. Well, you have to keep doing this. The return on investment is good. Well, it might be good. It might not be. Adding that he likes the administrative fees charged for TSP accounts are very modest. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. John War, a retiree living in Fort White, Florida, opted for a full withdrawal with a monthly payment at a rate the TSP calculates. He based that decision on a seminar he attended prior to retirement. The TSP computes his monthly check using life expectancy tables, and his payments have grown, but his account balance has largely remained steady. I like that I'm able to manage my TSP just as I did before, and I can keep getting a monthly payment. I'm telling you, that's kind of like that's almost the best of both worlds. You're not having to annuitize it, but if the market goes up, you could actually keep getting increasing distribution amount simply because you're getting a higher amount on which to take the distribution. And on top of that, you're getting older as well. So I like that a lot, actually. That's probably my favorite. It's like, look, let the TSP calculate it based on your life expectancy. And if the market does well, you'll get a benefit of that. Plus, you can still get the benefit of a pretty set amount of income for sure. Now, if the market is hammered, I imagine that income stream will drop for sure. But that's probably my favorite without having to annuitize it. So you still have control. Ronald Corte of Draper, Utah, has considered purchasing annuity, but was concerned about the account balance being forfeited upon his death. He opted for a full TSP withdrawal at a monthly rate he calculated. However, after several years of his payments, he could see his balance shrinking. Well, there you go. And so he's able to change it, which is good. All right, so I want to go down here to TSP and taxes. I thought I'd do a separate video on this, but I'm just going to share with you here because this is bad. Tax bills are not the only issue to consider when determining how to use TSP funds in retirement, but they can be one of the most significant. Just ask Patrick Garrell, a recent federal retiree. He took a one-time partial TSP withdrawal in 2012 as part of his strategy to sell his existing house and pay off a new, less expensive house. He knew that the TSP would withhold 20% of his withdrawal for federal income taxes, but he didn't realize that this withholding would fall far short, as he didn't account for the state tax bite from withdrawal either. Does it say where he lives? Did I see New Mexico? Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought I saw New Mexico, but maybe. Yeah, New Mexico, right. It's been a disaster, he says, who lives in Bernalillo, New Mexico. He says he was forced to come up with about $25,000 more than what he had expected to pay in 2012, in part because his withdrawal bumped him into a higher tax bracket. Yes, indeed. And the crazy thing is, there are so many little-known tax provisions and penalties, it doesn't take much of a slip-up to get into hot water. Even savvy retirees, such as this guy who once time was a tax preparer. You're not savvy if you don't understand the tax code. And if you're a tax preparer, it just boggles the mind. Some tax issues to keep in mind when devising a TSP strategy. TSP funds withdrawn and rolled over to an IRA will not be taxed until they are withdrawn from the IRA. Unless separating from service in the year of your 55th birthday or later, most TSP fund withdrawn before 59 and a half are subject to a 10% penalty. So I had a guy ask me on my YouTube channel the other day, do you have to actually retire? No, they don't care. Just separate from service. And the year you turn 55, you have access to your TSP funds without the 10% penalty. Not without the taxes, but without the 10% penalty. So you separate from service to go on a work at Lowe's part-time. You have access to that money without the 10% penalty. Law enforcement officers and firefighters and other group of people they can separate from service in their 50th birthday and have the provision have access to it under the provision. It's not subject to the 10% penalty. The first required minimum distribution is 7.5, so you don't want to miss that. Qualified distributions from a TSP Roth will not be subject to federal taxation. Qualified mean that Roth had to be open for 5 years, and you have to be over 59 and a half. TSP federal tax withholdings will vary based on the type of withdrawal, and the TSP website will show you that. All right, so here's the TSP Modernization Act of 2017, and I've done this probably 2 times already, and I'm going to do it again because a lot of people. I mean, my goodness, a couple thousand people see each video. That's fine. But there's a lot of people out there who haven't. All right. So the new law allows multiple partial post-separation withdrawals, which individuals can time to their individual needs, but it's limited to 1 per every 30 days. No big deal. These partial withdrawals can be taken even if the participant is already taking a monthly, quarterly, or annual payments. Permits as many as 4 age-based in-service withdrawals per calendar year for participants who are still employed by the feds. Provides greater flexibility for those receiving periodic payments by allowing the option to choose among 3 types of installment payments, monthly, quarterly, or annual. That's okay. Just take a month, in my opinion. Allowing these installment payments to be changed, and that's a big deal. So if you're taking it annually, you want it monthly, you can change that at any point during the year. Allowing installment payments to be stopped while leaving the account balance in the TSP. So if you have essentially an installment payment, you can stop it as well, which is sweet, and still have the TSP out there. You don't have to roll it to an IRA. Permitting the purchase of an annuity or partial withdrawal while an installment payment. And that's good stuff, without question. This is a big one. Eliminates the withdrawal election deadline. This TSP withdrawal election deadline will still apply in 2018, but it won't apply in 2019. Beginning in 2019, participants who failed to file a withdrawal that satisfies the IRS RMD will receive an automatic distribution of the RMD. That's fantastic because that's a big deal. You don't want to miss that. And there's a question down here. I'm separated from federal service and the TSP abandoned. There's no right here. There was one I want to talk about. If I separate from I've already transferred my TSP to okay. I've separated from service and I've already transferred my entire TSP to an IRA. Will I still be able to transfer money back? No, you can't. If I've already taken a partial withdrawal, would that prevent me from taking advantage of the expanded flexibility provided by the law? No. You will be allowed to take additional partial withdrawals, even if you already have one, which is fantastic. There was another question I thought in here I wanted to talk about. Was it this guy right here? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, right here. Most of my TSP account is held as traditional TSP balance as taxes on my contributions are tax deferred until I take a withdrawal. But some of it is held in ROTH TSP, in which I pay taxes on my contributions, but withdrawals are tax-free. Once these options are implemented, there's the TSP Modernization Act of 2017, which is right now, will I be able to choose between traditional and Roth balances when I exercise my withdrawal? Yes, that's a huge change right there. In addition, changes made by the new law, the FRTIB, remember that's Kim Weaver, is who governs the TSP, is also adding the ability to specify how much of your withdrawal should come from your Roth balance and how much should come from your traditional. Under the new rules, you can exercise a withdrawal option from your traditional balance without taking anything from the Roth or vice versa. However, these new rules do not change the fact that the Roth TSP remains subject to RMD's rules by the IRS. And that's the same with any 401k Roth, by the way. If you have a Roth and a 401k and you're over the age of 70.5, you are going to have required distributions. They will be tax-free, but you got to take them out. This is an IRS rules that applies to both the Roth accounts and employer plans such as TSP and 401ks. Yep. Under IRS rules, the Roth IRAs are not subject to RMD. So if a TSP doesn't wish to take RMDs from the Roth TSP, once the new withdrawal options become available, he or she should simply make a partial withdrawal requesting 100% of the Roth TSP be transferred to the Roth IRA. That's a big deal. That's a big deal when it comes to TSP, the Modernization Act that President Trump signed. You now have two accounts, a Roth TSP and a traditional TSP. You can do a partial withdrawal to roll all of your Roth TSP to a Roth IRA, and you should absolutely do this. The new legislation does not eliminate TSP. Right here is a big one. This is another reason why the TSP just boggles my mind. Under the new rules, will I be able to choose from which funds my withdrawal comes from? No, you can't. Withdrawals will continue to come proportionally from investment funds held inside your TSP. For example, if you have 75% allocated to the C fund and 25% allocated to the G fund, if you take $100, $75 will come from the C and $25 will come from the D. Boggles the mind. Anyway, so let's go back. I want to just share with you my blog post I did. This is back in January of last year, 2018. And let's see if I can't make this bigger. Because at the end of the day, the TSP withdrawal options, the Modernization Act, does not modernize it when it comes to your beneficiary. It actually boggles the mind. The TSP is such a good investment program for accumulating one assets, but is horrible for distribution of those assets. All right, so let's go down here. Spousal beneficiary withdrawal options. If you are a spousal beneficiary of a TSP, so I'm in the FERS, and my wife is not, and I die, this is what's called a spousal beneficiary. I give you a link to the brochure on this too. For example, your spouse just died. I just died, and you inherited his TSP. So my wife, Charlotte, inherited my TSP. You'll be automatically set up with a Beneficiary Participant Account, BPA. Now, if you have your own TSP account, you may be inclined to transfer your BPA into your TSP. Wait! In general, once you combine your BPA with your existing TSP, your beneficiary participant account money will be subject to the rule that govern the TSP. There may be reasons to keep the account separate. You may not, and going back to what I said about inherited IRAs the other day, if you are under the age of 59 and a half, you may want to, well, I would say keep your BPA because you have access to it without the 10% penalty. If you roll over your BPA to your TSP, and a BPA is what? Your Beneficiary Participant Account. Josh dies, leaves my TSP to Charlotte. She will then get a BPA. It's no longer the TSP. It's a Beneficiary Participant Account. If she can roll that to her TSP, but if she's under the age of 59 and a half, that'd be dumb to do because she has access to the BPA without the 10% penalty if she's under the age of 59 and a half. If she's over the age of 59 and a half, absolutely, she should do that. But there's no, here's why. There's no early withdrawal penalty associated with withdrawals from the BPA. There is, however, an early withdrawal penalties associated with regular and civilian uniform service accounts. Therefore, if you have your own TSP, that's what that is, and you want to move your beneficiary account into it, the early withdrawal penalty rules will continue to apply. So remember, if you have a BPA, that means a beneficiary participant account, you're under the age of 59 and a half, your husband died, your wife died, don't roll that over into your own TSP because of early withdrawal penalties will apply. No different than inherited IRA. And I say be advised, all retirement accounts operate like this. Absolutely. So IRAs, 401ks, the whole thing. If you are under the age of 59 and a half, you don't want to roll that over because, again, it doesn't matter what account it is, because if you do, you'll be subject to 10% early withdrawal. One-time partial withdrawals of BPA. Unfortunately, you're still subject to big restrictions when you take distributions out of your BPA, just like the restrictions for the initial account owner, which the initial account owner restrictions have been liberalized now. You can only make one partial distribution, just one. Only 3 options for full withdrawals from the Thrift Savings Plan BPA. Lump sum, monthly payments, annuity payments. So you can make one partial withdrawal. Thankfully, you can transfer your BPA to another IRA or eligible retirement account. But this is what ticks me off to begin with. I don't want you to transfer your account to a different plan. I want you to keep it in the TSP because it's so valuable, because it's so cheap. But the restrictions on when you can take your distribution does pose a high hurdle for sure. Now, it gets even worse. This is the beneficiary participant account heir. So my kids, so I die, leave my TSP to my wife. It goes from TSP to BPA. My wife dies. My heirs have... Here's death benefit payments made from your BPA. So Charlotte now is dead, leaves it to my 4 kids. Must be paid directly to my children. These payments are subject to certain tax restrictions and cannot be transferred or roll over to an IRA. In addition, your beneficiaries must pay the full amount of taxes on the taxable portions of the payment in the year is received. So a lump sum will be immediately payable to your beneficiaries. Once you, as an owner of a BPA, die. So let me draw this again. All right, I'm going to open up this guy here. I'm going to draw this out. This is not. Here's my thing. Sweet. All right, I'm sorry this is going so crazy, but you got TSP, Josh. All right, TSP. That's me. I have my TSP. I die. I leave it to Charlotte. Beneficiary participant account, Charlotte. She dies. She leaves it to the kids. All right? Kid. I got 4 kids. So she leaves it to the kids. All right? Now, the kids must take a lump sum distribution. They cannot roll it to their IRA. That lump sum distribution is fully taxed as ordinary income in the year in which they receive it. So if your kid is a radiologist making $500,000 a year and receives a $250,000 BPA distribution because they are the heirs of the BPA is the heir of the TSP owner, then that $250,000 will be subject to 100% ordinary income taxes and will kill you from a tax perspective. Boggles the mind. All right, so that's the thing on the TSP. A lot more liberal now, which is wonderful for the owner. Now, you still can't pick and choose from which account your money comes from when you're taking a distribution. If you got 75% in the C fund and 25% in the G fund, when you take a $100 distribution or a $1,000 distribution, does not matter. It is still proportional, which is mind-bogglingly insane. But at least you can roll your TSP Roth to a Roth IRA as a partial withdrawal, which is wonderful. And if you take a distribution, it no longer will come from the proportional from the Roth and the traditional, which is wonderful too. So two great things there. One still bad thing when it comes to taking distributions from your TSP. It has no effect on the BPA or the heirs of the BPA. None. So remember that, my friends. This is a big, big flipping deal. If you're the heir of a TSP account holder, you're leaving your heir in a lot of hurt. All right, so now let's go lastly to the non-spouse beneficiaries of a TSP. All right, so options for non-spouse beneficiaries of a thrift savings plan. So now let's just say I die with my TSP. I leave it to Charlotte. All right, she rolls it to her own TSP as opposed to the BPA, which she certainly can do. Now she dies, so my 4 kids are the heirs of her TSP. They're not her spouse. They're just her heirs. They can take a lump sum distribution or they can roll it to an inherited IRA. A non-spouse beneficiary, a beneficiary who is not a surviving spouse, cannot retain a TSP account. The death benefit payable may be made directly to the beneficiary or an IRA, inherited IRA. So that's a good thing. So actually, non-spouse beneficiaries of a TSP have more leniency than beneficiaries of, in this case, non-spouse beneficiaries of a BPA. All right, so in this case, if you're the recipient of a TSP and you have your own TSP, if you're over the age of 59.5, you absolutely roll that sucker into your own TSP. You name your beneficiaries and they can roll it into an inherited IRA at your demise. If they inherit your BPA, they're in a world of hurt. So you got to understand that, my friends. All right. As always, I know a lot going on here. I'll leave you the links to both these articles in the show notes. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, put them down below. Thumbs up always help me. Subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. This link, by the way, is from my blog at my website at heritagewealthplanning.com. All right. See you guys.